Thank you for listening to the Conform to Christ podcast, where we seek to engage the mind, affect the heart, and call people to follow Christ. My name is George Mays. I'm here with Jay Jones, and this is Text Driven Tuesday.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How's it going?
I mean, it was going well until I heard that we were only 15 minutes from a nuclear catastrophe.
Yeah. Probably shouldn't have told everybody. But we are. I mean, it's kind of scary. We have been, but we. I mean,
that's how you were bringing your sermon to a close yesterday.
We've been living on the edge since the Cold War, my friend.
Yeah.
We just live in blissful ignorance. You know it?
Yep. No, I'm having a good day.
That's good.
I had to wake up early to listen to your sermon, so got to.
Yeah,
it's all fresh.
You're all traveling.
It's all fresh.
Nice.
Yeah.
You a little travel, travel guest preaching.
Yep.
Nice.
Preached at a former church.
That's good.
It's good. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I'm sure they enjoyed having you.
Always miss being away from Christ Fellowship, though.
Yeah. It was good songs yesterday.
Yeah.
On point, perfectly on point. It's nice to hear everyone singing them. Yeah. I just bask in it before I get ready to preach. Just shut my eyes and bask in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pumps me up.
We got great songs. We've got a singing church. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Definitely is. And we were like tag team buddies yesterday. You're preaching on the same type of thing.
Yeah.
Similar. From a different passage.
Similar ideas.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, I was in Psalm 119.
Yeah. Talking about affliction.
Yeah.
Remember when affliction tees were cool? Do you remember those?
I don't.
I know Wayne does. You don't remember affliction t-shirts?
I don't think so.
Oh, they were so cool back in the day. I even had a few.
Really?
Yeah, you can look them up later for fun, for giggles.
Okay.
You have one, Wayne? Oh, yeah.
All right.
Yeah. It's kind of mandatory for all military people to have affliction t-shirt.
You didn't wear it today. You should have worn it.
I should have worn it.
You should have worn it.
It's got holes in it.
No one cares.
I don't even know if I have it, actually. Yeah. They were so cool back in the day.
Yeah, I was preaching on Psalm 119 verses 65 through 72, and it was how affliction is actually good. It's a good gift from God. It's not that affliction leads into the good gift, but affliction itself is the gift, because God is using affliction to accomplish His purposes. And you were preaching Romans 8:28 and hitting on the same stuff. But yeah, you quoted Bart Ehrman. I quoted Bart Ehrman too.
It's just a super popular guy.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, I actually saw a clip of him this morning.
Did you?
Yeah.
He's making a comeback.
Got
Come back to our Bart Ehrman.
Yeah. It's funny. Yeah.
Yeah, so there we go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we'll jump right into it, Jay.
All right, let's do it.
You like those Marvel What If animated series?
Yeah, they're pretty entertaining.
Yeah.
The cartoons.
Like the What If what was one? Like, what if T'Challa became Star-Lord?
Yeah.
If he was abducted instead. And
or Peggy Carter.
He was
that
one
was
of the
a good
Guardians
one.
of the Galaxy. Yeah.
What if Peggy Carter went in the super soldier pod instead of Captain America?
Oh, is she Captain Britain? Is that what they called her?
I don't know. I don't know what they call her.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good one, though.
Yeah.
What if things were different? Yeah.
Right. And that's how you started your sermon. What if?
Yeah.
What if things were different?
Uh-huh.
I mean, if you really stop, I actually started tracing out lines of different
in your own life,
different decisions, and what if these things had happened instead?
Yeah.
And if you start thinking about it, it's wild.
It is.
I mean, your life could be completely different if just one decision, not just by you, but by someone else,
just one
had been different.
Yeah. And you got billions of people making decisions all over the
Oh,
place.
yeah, and how many decisions from other people are affecting you that you don't even have an idea that this is what's going on. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
think of all the little decisions that brought 3 guys to this room this morning,
Mm-hmm.
and all the people that we've already interacted with and their decisions, and yeah.
Mm.
You can get into multiverse theory here,
You could.
Shay.
Yeah.
But the Bible doesn't talk about multiverse,
Yeah.
because it's not just a bunch of random choices and chances and accidents that are splitting off into different realities. There's one course in history, and it's being guided by God's sovereign hand, and all the what ifs, all of those are under his control. And you started out your sermon with one of those what ifs.
Yeah. Yeah. One morning, 5 a.m., phone rings. As far as I hop up out of bed, your phone doesn't normally ring at 5. It's something good, right? But hop up, it's Angie. Yep. She's crying. She's hysterical, and she's not a crier. She doesn't cry much. Probably maybe 5 times in 24 years I can think of. And she's crying, and she says, "I almost died. I was almost killed." And what happened was her tire blew out on the highway coming in from Cache. And there's a grass median, like on most, So tire blows out. She spins over into the grass, spins around in a circle, but keeps going into the oncoming traffic. And there's a semi-truck coming in her lane. She can't move. I mean, it happened so quickly. But the guy couldn't brake. It's not time to brake, but he got over in the other lane just in time. Like literally almost died. It's crazy to think about. Like what would have happened if he hadn't got over, and how our lives would be completely altered, be catastrophic. Mm-hmm. Evangeline wouldn't even be alive. This is before she was born, and what would happen to my kids? Like I wonder, like how would they grapple with the problem of evil and suffering at such a young age? Like what would it do to them? Would it make them, in the end, persevere, or would it be the thing that like sifted them as a trial and proved they never believed to begin with? Like there's so many things that you can think about in that, and most people I think can identify with something like that, especially if you have gone through some type of suffering. You always wonder, like, why did it have to be like this? Like, why did my life go this way? Couldn't it be? I can see that it could have gone another way, and why didn't it? And I know, like that's something people have grappled with, and they are grappling with, and it's better to grapple with it before it happens. I think to really lock in and solidify and have a understanding as we're just dealing with one verse today, 8:28, one of the most popular verses probably. I think most people have heard it and know it, that whether they've really jumped into it or not, that. And we know that for those that love God, all things work together for good, for those that are called according to his purpose. It's not even something that I would recommend using in the moment that someone is suffering.
Yeah.
Because when you do, you mean well, obviously. You're trying to help somebody, but you end up becoming like Job's friends. When the best thing to do is just to be with them.
Yeah.
Just weep with those who weep. And as they're asking why, maybe don't try to answer the question. You don't really know why.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we can easily abuse this verse. And just be kind of flippant about it. This verse is in the context of the sufferings that Paul's been talking about throughout Romans chapter 8, and he doesn't shy away from the reality of suffering.
Right. Yeah.
Like this isn't just some Band-Aid that you slap onto a really bad situation. And that's why you mentioned it. This is something that you can't play catch up after the suffering has happened, after the affliction. Like this is letting this passage engage your mind now, so that when you go through affliction, it will affect your heart.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly right. And it's also important to remember that the flow of this writing is so wonderfully put together that everything is building off what's before and feeding back. And so chapter 8 is a chapter about really like all of these amazing things God has done for us, just one after the other. And there's not any commands in here for you to follow. There's an implied command that we're able to deduce from the text, which is that we have to persevere to gain our inheritance. But that's 17. 17 is kind of the climax of the chapter. So it's built chiastically. And that verse 17 is all about just great inheritance we have, which is unspeakably magnificent, right? This great inheritance that we have. Heirs with Abraham, become heirs of the world, heirs of God, that he's our God eternally, forever, would know God and to be known by God. And then co-heirs with Christ, that will be glorified like Christ, provided we suffer with him. And that's one that we can't just skip over. Mm-hmm. That's the reality of the world, from the fall until new creation. The reality is that God's people suffer, and we don't suffer any less than other people. Mm-hmm. Like, we don't have this kind of like transactional relationship with God where if we really have faith and we try to live as a good witness in the world and raise our families right, that we get spared from pain and suffering. And you don't want to have that understanding. That the word of faith it makes it explicit. The word of faith, false gospel that's out there promising you health and prosperity and financial advancement and career advancement, all that stuff.
Yeah, I think that's one of the ways that this verse can be abused is that it becomes worldly.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you rip it out of its context and you forget what is going on before and what's coming after.
Yeah. And so, I really want to, this is the difference, right? And I think we live in such a weird time where you have a lot of people that there are churches out there, but I'm not sure they have pastor preachers. Right? They might have a preacher, but I'm not sure he's a pastor preacher. One of the reasons is because they don't write their own sermons, right? They buy, and it's, we do laugh about it, but it's so...
That's not even a preacher.
It's so widespread, right?
Yeah.
But if you write a sermon with thinking about the people in your congregation as you write it,
right?
Like you're writing it for them. Other people outside of your church may find benefit in it and what you say, and praise God for that. But you got to sweat and maybe have tears in your eyes as you are preparing a sermon, knowing what people are going to hear and what you're trying to do. You're trying to match the intent of the author of the text, which is to prepare people for life-altering events that could completely shake their faith. And how they respond to that will be they will either walk away from the faith, because the problem of evil is still the number one killer of those who have this.
Yeah, I mentioned in my sermon that there's really two primary reasons why people leave the faith. One is sexual immorality. Mm-hmm. They usually cave to the homosexual and transgender stuff. And two is suffering.
Yeah, yeah.
Those are the top two.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and it is, I think I was feeling that weight of it all week, and I was just wore out yesterday afterward because, we don't want to say hey, I'm the determining factor in if someone is going to believe the Bible or not and persevere in faith when suffering comes or not, because you're not, right? The Holy Spirit's the primary agent that is going to affect the person. But the preacher is the means, is the conduit by which the Spirit is working in the life of the church. That's a lot of pressure. That's why a lot of people, if they want to be pastors, maybe you try to talk them out of it first.
Yeah. That's what my uncle did when I told him that I felt like I was called into ministry. Mm-hmm. It's like, don't do it.
Yeah, yeah. So, but I wanted to make sure I tried to communicate this, to get across the urgency and really the magnificent truths that emerge from the text when you really dig into it about God's sovereignty. And it is important what you believe about the sovereignty of God and his relationship. How does God relate to the sufferings and evils that happen in our life? And what you believe about that before you go into it can determine the outcome. And I mentioned Bart Ehrman. This is where I quoted Bart Ehrman. Bart Ehrman is known as a critical Bible scholar. He's an atheist.
He started out, didn't he do something with Billy Graham? Wasn't he connected to Billy Graham?
I'm not sure if that's
But I know
how
that he
started.
was. I know he claimed to be a Christian.
Bruce Metzger was actually, I think, his mentor at one time, who's a renowned
Yeah.
Bible scholar.
He was. I mean, he claimed to be an Orthodox Christian.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But kind of what he says is pretty revealing. It almost does boggle the mind, though, if you're a Bible scholar, like how you haven't really interacted with maybe this passage. But he said he'd come to very much doubt that God is good, right? That a good God existed, and it was a problem of suffering and evil that did this, that caused the doubts. He says, if God helps people, why doesn't he help his people?
Mm.
That's a good question, right? If he answers prayer, why doesn't he answer prayer? If he intervenes, why doesn't he intervene? Then he makes the comment that he says it seems to him that people that are faithful to God, that love God, that devote their lives to him, they pray to him, they suffer no less than those who are indifferent to God or have scornful hostility toward God's existence. And so he leaves the faith. He's an atheist.
Yeah, I did have a quote from Bart Ehrman here. This is from an interview that he gave. He said, "Suffering increasingly became a problem for me and my faith."
Mm-hmm.
And he said around 2006, he came to the realization he just didn't believe Christianity anymore, and the large part of it was because of suffering.
Yes, yeah. And so I contrasted him with Gianna Jessen. You've heard of her? Have you heard of her? So she was born with cerebral palsy, has lived her whole life with it, and she's got perspective now that she's older and she can look back, and she says that God gave her the gift of cerebral palsy, like for his glory, for her good. It's mind-blowing. But how she got it is that her mom tried to abort her, tried to kill her in the womb with a saline injection, which is a horrific way to die. It's you getting burned alive in your mother's womb. That cut off the oxygen supply to her brain, so she was born with cerebral palsy. And she says, contrast it to Bart Ehrman, she sees it as God working a good in her life. And the interesting thing is she does not take away from the responsibility of her mother and the abortion doctor. She said, tried to murder her. They committed this horrific sin. But she sees God concurrently working in that to bring about this great good, that many people have heard the gospel and believe the gospel. She's been platformed to be the voice of the unborn around the world, perhaps like nobody else, right, to survive an abortion. So you have these very different ways of looking at the problem of suffering and evil. And it really comes down to Bart Ehrman does not believe Romans 8:28. She believes it with all of her heart. She believes it. And so my purpose was to explain it and to inspire people to believe that God is good and he always does good for those that are called according to his purpose, those that love God, the Christians. Christians have this assurance that even when you can't see what's going on in your life, you don't have the perspective to see it, God, this verse is still true. He's working in ultimate good, and we'll see the ultimate good as we go through.
Yeah. Well, you already quoted the passage. Do you want to read it? Do you want to read it anyway?
Sure, I can read it in. I'll read it in the context of last week, and then where we'll be going next week as we look at the rest of the passage. So I'll start in 26. Is it coming up? No, it's not. Let's see. What if I do that? Nothing. It's a new software update on my tablet, so it won't come up.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Nothing? Isn't that sad? It's making that an external monitor. Let's see if I can bring it up like this. Let's see. Did it go? Do it again. Go back. All right. I can get there from here, I think. Let's see. No, I can't.
This is the good stuff.
I can't bring it up.
This is the good stuff.
So you just have to listen.
Yeah.
You just have to look at me read it, I suppose, from the Bible. All right. Beginning verse 26. Likewise, the Spirit helps us in our weakness. For we do not know what to pray for as we ought, but the Spirit himself intercedes for us with groanings too deep for words. And he who searches hearts knows what is the mind of the Spirit, because the Spirit intercedes for the saints according to the will of God. And we know that for those that love God, all things work together for good, for those that are called according to his purpose. For those whom he foreknew, he also predestined to be conformed to the image of his Son, in order that he might be the firstborn among many brothers. And those whom he predestined, he also called. And those whom he called, he also justified. Those whom he justified, he also glorified. So I wanted to look at two truths to believe in Romans 8:28, which will strengthen your faith. And this is really that's the angle. The angle is this verse is here to strengthen your faith. It's doing the same thing of what everything that we saw before this was doing. So in 18 through 25, he's trying to secure us and give us perseverance to acquire that inheritance of 17, right? It goes back to 17. So 18 through 30 is structured in a way to bolster you persevering to acquire that inheritance, to secure you in your salvation. And so in 18 through 25, where we came to in that climax was to hope in the promises of God. And if you hope in God's promises, you'll be able to persevere and endure in patience. Likewise, in the same manner that hope will help you persevere, the Spirit helps you to persevere by being your helper. He's your helper. He comes up alongside of you, and he lifts the great burden of your weakness with you, and he gives you the ability to persevere in a time that is marked by these present sufferings. But he's also our intercessor. And so even when we're so weak in the faith and we don't know what to pray as we should, the Spirit himself prays for us, and his prayers are perfect. He knows us exactly. He knows what we need. He knows the ultimate goal. So he's always praying according to God's will. And God's will in this passage is for us to acquire our inheritance, that you would be glorified. So the Spirit is praying for you to endure and be glorified, to be made like Christ. Your hope is serving that same purpose. And now we get a third really big securing thought or idea. And that idea is that God's entire plan that began, as we'll see next week, before the world even began, God had a plan, a people. It set his love upon, that he's predestined for glorification. He's predestined them to be conformed to the image of his Son. And so when we come to this verse, and this one verse only in 28, we see that in our lives right now, we can be assured that everything that happens to us, no matter how big or how small, everything in our life is working toward that end, because God is working it toward us getting to glory. Incredibly securing doctrine, I think, absolute alley-oop slam dunk for the eternal security of the believer. Mm-hmm. If the Spirit is praying for me to acquire eternal life and my inheritance, he prays perfectly according to God's will. And we know if you pray according to God's will, it's always answered. And the Spirit is praying for me to have that. And now I see, also, God's working everything in my life, whether I can see it or perceive it or not, toward that end. Mm. I'm going to have that inheritance.
Right.
And that's very securing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, 2 truths to strengthen your faith from one verse.
Yeah, 2 truths.
All right.
That's right.
Okay. Believe that God wants you to know and embrace his sovereignty.
Yeah. I think there's, and we know, could easily be skipped over in a throwaway. Mm-hmm. But think about how this is written. And we know. Who's we? He's talking to Christians before we get anywhere else, right? This is something Paul knows. And this is not something he writes about from lack of experience. He is, right, he is like the king of suffering at this point. He's suffered. I mean, there are Christians alive who probably have now suffered on that level, but his whole life is a life of suffering and pain and enduring it for the sake of the gospel, for making Christ his name great among the nations and planting churches. And he's endured all kinds of beatings and starvation and hunger and thirst and imprisonment and stonings and shipwrecks. He's listed all these things, but he says, we know that all things are working together for good. We know this. This is a fact that we know. So he knows God's sovereignty, not only that God can work all things, he has that ability, but that he does do it, that God is working his sovereignty. It's working out for our good. And he says this for those that love God. I think that's like a most very basic way to say what is a Christian. It's, at the fundamental level, it's someone who loves God. And everybody would say they love God today. If you ask a stranger, do you love God? Atheists would say, no, I don't love God. He doesn't even exist or whatever. But 99% of the people on planet Earth, they would all say, yeah, I love God, I guess, maybe. But not this God. The God he's talking about is the Trinitarian God, and we've spent a lot of time talking about that. The God who loves us, and out of his love, he has sent his Son to be a propitiation for our sins. And Christ, in his great love, the eternal Son, came and died for our sins on the cross and was buried. He did die. He died. The wages of sin is death. They're not the wages that he deserves. They're our sins, and he died a death that we deserve. But he was resurrected in the power of the Spirit, and so we have this whole ministry and this work of the Spirit we've been elaborating on. Spirit applying redemption to our lives, indwelling us, pouring God's love into our hearts, giving us a new mind so that we could walk after God and not follow the things of this world, causing us to be able to cry out, Abba, Father, in love. And, we love is very true because he first loved us. So the Christian is one who loves the Trinitarian God, and they can be confident. If you love this God, the God who is described in 1-8 of working this great redemption for us, then you can be assured that God's sovereignty is working for your benefit. And something you should know. Before suffering happens, you should know it and believe it, and you should believe in God's sovereignty and an all-encompassing sovereignty. The Bible is so clear on this that God's sovereignty is all-encompassing over big things, the course of the planets in the sky, every star. He knows them all, even the hairs on your head. He knows them. Big laws that govern the universe, small laws we're only just discovering in quantum physics. Like, God is sovereign over all of that.
Did you know that there are a lot of IFB guys that reject the idea of sovereignty?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they'll make fun of Calvinists for talking about sovereignty.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
Like, why? Why when it's so explicitly taught in the Bible?
I guess I think the word is not used in the King James, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah. Well,
so they're rejecting the word, I think, but I think also just being anti-Calvinist, they swing too far the other direction.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know, it's weird. There's like Stephen Anderson he rails against a lot of things. He's railed against sovereignty.
Weird. They have adopted a deistic understanding of the universe and how it works, I guess.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of Christians that would reject. I think kind of the definition that you gave. Well, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's the definition you gave. I think is, I don't know, maybe one that Christians would all agree with. But then when you start getting into, like, in an abstract hypothetical way, but then when you start thinking about like practical ways in which sovereignty is worked out, I think that's where the people would start to have problems.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's really easy to just think about sovereignty in an academic way, just an intellectual way. But then when you actually start to see throughout the scriptures how sovereignty is worked out in real people's lives, I think that's when people start to get uncomfortable.
Yeah, probably.
Because you'll hear people talk about, give your definition of sovereignty.
Simple definition.
Give your definition.
Sovereignty of God means that God possesses absolute authority, control, power, and freedom over all creation, and nothing happens outside of his will or his decree.
Yeah. Maybe decree, that's probably going to be a word that people are going to maybe struggle with.
I mean, you're going to have to struggle with it.
Even though it's, it's found.
We're getting ready to talk about predestination.
That's right.
I don't know how predestination works without a decree.
Right. I think that, I don't think people think about God very deeply. They have kind of a superficial thoughts about God. But you'll hear people talk about how God limits himself. Like, in his freedom, he freely limits his sovereignty so that there can be free will.
Right.
Have you heard people
talk
that way?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Which that's not in the Bible.
Yeah, I don't think you have to limit. God doesn't have to limit himself in any capacity, that he can be sovereign, and that can include the absolute free moral choices of human beings.
But I think the real problem is that it's elevating humanity.
Right.
Like, the ultimate goal is free will. Like that, like free will really becomes an idol for some people.
Right.
As if that's the ultimate good. That you can't have a real relationship, you can't have real love without free will. And so God has to limit himself so that humans have libertarian free will, which is just absolutely not the case. Humans don't have libertarian free will.
Well, I would say, just even from the philosophical standpoint, not even looking and arguing from the Bible, I've examined free will. Libertarian free will is an impossibility.
Yeah.
If you get libertarian free will, you will never make a choice.
Right.
Your choices are always determined by the conditions that surround you, your proclivities as an individual, your tastes, things that you prefer over other things. So your will is always determined by what you desire. Your will is driven by your desire.
I think the way that people define libertarian free will is not even accurate for God. Like God doesn't even have this kind of neutrality to do whatever he he does whatever he wants, but whatever he wants is always righteous. So God can't lie.
Right.
Is that is that libertarian free will?
Right.
Where God could lie? Like God can't lie because of his nature.
Right.
It's an impossibility. But I think that a lot of Christians want to elevate human free will to something that's even beyond what God is like.
Yeah. Your will's always bound by things. I mean, you can't fly. We've all dreamt of flying. We all wish it was true. You know, you have a flying dream when you were a kid, especially. Take off running and then you're flying. Well, you can't fly. Your will's bound.
Right.
Right. By laws, external laws. And I think we see explicitly clear in scriptures that our will is bound by our sin. Right. So we aren't free. We'll always be bound in sin, and that's going to affect all the choices that we make in this world. And we can't free ourselves from it.
Right.
It's something it takes a divine rescue to free you from the bondage of and the slavery of sin, which we've already encountered. It says that the Spirit does this. We have been set free by the Spirit.
Yeah.
And so I think as the Spirit does set you free, and this happens according to God's sovereignty, you do exercise a will. Faith is exercise of your newfound freedom through the Spirit. And what does that do? What does your will do? Well, your will is always going to go toward that which you most desire. And so as the Spirit sets you free from slavery and sin, Christ is set forth before your eyes as he truly is, and you really behold the gospel. You want freedom. You want total redemption. You want Christ. So you run to Christ in the Spirit. So yeah, we've taken a little detour, but yeah, the sovereignty of God, as God's sovereignty is worked out, as we'll see, does not negate human responsibility in any way.
Right.
Humans are always presented as responsible for their choices and actions, and yet over all of that, the governance of the universe is God's sovereignty.
And his sovereignty is always based in his character. So he always does what's good.
You're right.
And what's righteous.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, so we've got sovereignty. He rules over all things, but that's kind of the academic side of it. Providence is the more practical outworking of it.
Right. Yeah. So the providence of God is simply, it's how God exercises his sovereignty in the world and ruling over it. So our God is in the heavens. He does all that he pleases. I think that's a general statement of God's sovereignty. That's Psalm 115:3. Our God is in the heavens. He does all that he pleases. Like you got to grapple with that. But how does he do that? How is he working out all things? Ephesians 1:11, according to the counsel of his will. God is working out all things according to the counsel of his will. How does he do it? That's providence. So what providence says. It's how God exercises his sovereignty in the world. And Louis Berkhoff, he has a great kind of definition of it. And from there, we can extrapolate, I think, 3 other truths about providence, which help us as we're looking at God working all things for our good. But he says, providence may be defined as the continued exercise of the divine energy, whereby the Creator preserves all his creatures, is operative in all that comes to pass, and directs all things to their appointed end. And we should know that this is meticulous in nature.
Right.
God's providence is meticulous. Things aren't left to chance and randomness, or things just kind of work out in the end. And the example I gave is that of Moses. You know, as Moses is a baby, the decree has come from Pharaoh that all the Hebrew children are to be killed and thrown into the Nile. But his mother makes a little boat, a little ark, and I think you're meant to pick up on the connection there as well. And she puts him in his little boat, and she sends him out into the Nile River. But we aren't to think she's given up, right? She's entrusting him to God's providence. What will God do with this baby? And so Moses drifts toward Pharaoh's daughter, right? She goes out at the right time to bathe, and there he drifts over. But think about how things could have gone differently, right? He could drift out to sea. He could drift into the reeds and die of starvation. A crocodile could come over and eat him. But fluid dynamics is working, and it's so. And I like to look at these weird videos late at night, like understanding fluid dynamics. And then you just be like mind blown. Like it always rebounds back to God's glory. I'm like, And to think about Moses, God working in the Nile River, like fluid dynamics, and bringing Moses to where he needs to go. And then Pharaoh's daughter, she has compassion. What if none of it happened? What if she didn't have compassion? What if she's like, kill that baby? He's a Hebrew, you know? What if he drifts off somewhere else and dies? But none of that will happen because he is God's predetermined deliverer of his people. Moses, this is not an accident. God's not like working in the bad situations and thinking like I could use this baby as a deliverer. This is God's plan,
Right.
To raise him up as a deliverer of the people.
Yeah, and it's God's sovereignty over inanimate objects and animals and people and their choices and their desires. Like it all falls under it. My favorite story in the Bible of God's meticulous sovereignty is in Esther, in Esther chapter 6, when the king can't sleep.
Yeah.
Like how many times have you not been able to sleep at night?
Yeah.
Like the king can't sleep. The king could have chosen any form of entertainment. Instead, he asked for a book, and he asked for the Chronicles, and they come and read from the record, the record of decisions that the king has made, like the history of his rule, and they just happen to come across the part where Mordecai has saved the king from an assassination plot. Now, there's more. That goes back to other stuff in the book of Esther. And the king asked what was done for Mordecai for doing this. Nothing has been done. The king didn't do anything way back when this first happened. And they tell him nothing. And at that moment, Haman shows up wanting to kill Mordecai, wanting to execute him. And the king asks what should be done for the man who the king wants to honor. He doesn't use Mordecai's name. Haman assumes that the king's talking about himself. Like, whoa, who else could he be talking about? And from there we get, it's just the finale to the story. It comes very quickly on the heels of chapter 6, but all the things that go into that we would just say that is just a massive stroke of luck for Mordecai that this happened.
Right.
But it actually is God's meticulous sovereignty in causing the king not to sleep and causing him to want to read from the records instead of having someone from his harem come in or someone come in and entertain him, someone come in and tell him a story. He wants to hear from the records. They just happen. It's a scroll. They're open exactly to where Mordecai is mentioned. Like all of it is it's so meticulous. And if it's not God's sovereign, providential working, it's so fantastical that it's beyond belief.
Yeah, it's just randomness, meaningless luck.
Yeah,
could have gone the other way.
Yeah,
but it doesn't. Yeah. And so it is meticulous. Right? Sproul famously said, "There's not one rogue particle in the universe." And this isn't a throwaway doctrine. Like this is, I think maybe Spurgeon said, this is the pillow upon which a Christian lays his head. This is it, the sovereignty of God.
Yeah.
Jesus said, "Not a sparrow falls to the ground apart from the Father." Yeah. And all your hairs of your head are numbered. Right? Are you not worth more than a sparrow?
Yeah.
That's encouraging. And so God's providence, as we read here, is always working for our good. So let's understand it in three ways as we come back to Berkhoff's. It comes down to preservation, concurrence, and government. So as we look through those three, what is preservation? And this is something important for people to grasp, and I think it is very encouraging and will help you to have like a big appreciation of who God is. It's the idea that you exist because God is preserving you, right? God didn't just create the laws of the universe like a deist, like a clockmaker, like Voltaire says. Like, isn't it obvious you can't have a clock without a clockmaker? Like, people can discern that. Scientists can discern that. Many of them do. They won't latch on to Christianity. They'll kind of settle there. Like even the most famous mathematicians in the world. What's that guy's name? That
Linux?
Oriental guy. Well, Linux is a Christian.
Oh, yeah.
What is the guy's name? But he says like it's undeniable. Like if you look at math and the statistics, the probabilities, the laws, there's a clockmaker. Yeah. But we go further than that because we aren't to understand all things are just working out in our life for the good, right? Just because they just do. You could call that kind of a naive optimism. A lot of people have that.
Yeah.
I had that. And I've told people before I was regenerated, I was dumb as a box of rocks, right? By my own doing. It's not like God didn't give me a good brain that can learn and can grasp and grapple with complicated things, but I never read. But I was naively optimistic. And I just always thought like things will just always work out for the good. And if you believe that, if you want to leave things to luck, like with the Mordecai and everything that's happening in your life, and just say, well, things will just work out in the end for good, eventually you're going to get hit with something that is going to absolutely rock your world, where you see this is not going to work out in any way that I can see in my life for any good whatsoever. And when that happens, that naive optimism will be replaced with nihilistic pessimism. That's where it goes.
Yeah.
And that's where it goes for a lot of people who will deconstruct and walk away. And then for the rest of their life, they'll have a nihilistic understanding of the world that nothing matters, nothing works out for the good. We're just random accidents doing the best we can until we die and we fade off into oblivion. And I desperately do not want that to happen for anyone. So we are to understand that in this providence, God is preserving everything as it is. Right? We exist in Him. We live and move and have our being. It's not a statement that God is the universe. It's a statement that you're a contingent being, and you don't have existence in yourself. Right? And the beautiful thing about this, it holds up Christ incredibly high, is that the way God is preserving the universe, all of the laws, right? Microbiology, the laws that govern the planets, the laws that govern quantum physics. You existing in reality is maintained by Christ. Right? Christ is the one who's doing it. Hebrews tells us He's the radiance of the glory of God, the exact print of His nature. He upholds the universe by the word of His power. And so every single day, every Christian should know, I exist today. I am alive because Christ is willing my existence. He's upholding me. Like I'm breathing and it's working and my blood is going and my brain is working and everything is going because Christ is upholding me. But also the non-believers should know. You should tell them, like crystal clear. Even if you don't believe this, you're benefiting from it right now. You exist because Christ is making you exist. Right. He's preserving your existence. Colossians says the same thing. In Him all things hold together. Everything would just evaporate. It'd be like Endgame, where you snap your fingers and like everything just disappears. Like if Jesus is not upholding us and His preserving providence, like we have no universe, we have no life, we have nothing. And that's important for us to understand, because the same God who can preserve and does preserve all things in the world has told us in His word that He's working all things for my good, whether I can see it or not. And just that verse itself is part of that preservation, that He is, if you are a Christian, He is going to cause you, He's going to preserve you in the faith. The perseverance of the saints is what we call it, but also we should see within that the perseverance of God and the saints, because He's causing us to persevere. But then also concurrence. Concurrence is the truth that God's meticulous sovereignty and providence does not violate the freedom of secondary causes, and by that theologians mean people. That God's plan is unfolding in this world through billions upon billions. You can even count them all. Decisions that people make and things that they do, whereby God never loses His sovereignty Everything happens according to his plan and design. And yet at the same time, people are morally accountable for the decisions that they make.
Mm-hmm.
And this means that even when people sin against you, that's not outside of God's plan for your life. And it's not outside 28, which means that when people sin against you, God is using that for your good. The most explicit example of that in the Bible just says it just straight outright is of Joseph and his brothers. We've talked about this numerous times on here, but Joseph's brothers do incredible evil to him, and their plan is murder. They're jealous. Their father loves him, favors him. He's got the beautiful coat, and they hate him. So they plan his murder to throw him in a pit. But then they say, "No, let's just sell him into slavery. We'll trick our dad. He'll think he's dead. We'll take him his bloody cloak. We'll say an animal got him, killed him, and we'll sell him off into slavery." So they sell him into slavery, into Egypt. And there he goes. I mean, that's evil intent. And then Potiphar's wife falsely accuses him of rape, and now he's thrown into jail. And we can read that story so detached, but just think of the suffering and pain you've experienced in your life and how you've wondered, what is God doing? Does he love me? Like I've tried my best to live according to what is pleasing to him. And so now imagine you're stuck in a jail, sold into slavery, you've lost your family. He is a human person. And I have to think he had thoughts like that and doubts. But then God raises him up, from that situation, become the most powerful person other than Pharaoh, possibly on planet Earth at the time. He's governing all of Egypt. Everything he does, God blesses. And in that, when famine's going to come to the land, it's going to decimate not just Egypt, but the whole Middle East, because everything kind of is structured around the prosperity of Egypt.
Yeah.
All of the Middle East is going to fall into famine. There are going to be innumerable deaths of starvation and suffering. But through this, God has raised up this man who has this plan. And so when God's people and his brothers, they've got to now take shelter in Egypt to survive, there's this climax, right, where they discover who each other are. This is our brother, which we sold into slavery to this evil. And they're expecting justice. They deserve justice, to be held accountable, possibly even die for what they did. And he forgives them. It is an absolute wonder that he does, right? He forgives them. And he says in there, you meant this for evil, but God meant it for good. So we're talking about the same but not the same meant. And you can't wiggle out of this verse. The numerous theologians have tried.
Yeah.
When you dig into the verse, it doesn't mean God makes lemonade out of lemons.
Right.
That he turns he turns bad things into good things after the fact. There's a dual intention happening.
Right.
You meant this for evil, but God meant this for good. That this was part of God's design and his plan.
Yeah.
And it included the sin of his brothers against him. So that's concurrence.
Yeah.
That even in the sinful choices and actions of people, God can, in those same choices of people of which they're accountable, there's a different intent.
Right. You can't get out of it because the psalmist in Psalm 105 is so explicit about it. He called for a famine upon the land. He broke the whole staff of bread. He sent a man before them, Joseph, who was sold as a slave. They afflicted his feet with fetters. He himself was laid in irons until the time that his word came to pass. The word of Yahweh refined him. So who sent Joseph into Egypt? His brothers.
Right.
Who sent him into Egypt? God.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how do these two go together?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they just do.
It is a great mystery.
It is.
Probably the biggest, and I don't want to maybe spend too much time on it because I want to use it next week too. But the crucifixion of Christ, the same thing is happening. Concurrence is happening.
Yeah.
As Peter is preaching, he'll say a couple of times, right? This is the Messiah whom you killed. He's affirming their evil intent, like this was your intent, to kill Jesus Christ. But you did it according to the definite plan and foreknowledge of God. Like God had predetermined this to take place. This is the climax of the Bible, the death, burial, and resurrection of Christ, I'd say it's the epicenter of all human history.
Mm-hmm.
And it included the sinful actions of people.
Yeah.
But they wanted to destroy Christ, kill his movement. Christianity would be destroyed with the death of its founder. They think they're going to expose him as a cursed man by hanging him on a tree.
Mm.
And yet they're doing the exact thing
Right.
that God intends, where Christ will lay his life down as a curse. He is cursed, but he's cursed for the great blessing of mankind.
Mm-hmm.
That's the dual intention that's happening. That's concurrence.
Yeah. Greatest evil ever to occur.
And what
greatest good.
Yeah, and what we should know is that as we're looking at our life, many of the things that happen to us and many of the reasons we suffer, they have nothing to do with any decisions we make whatsoever. They have to do with what other people do, how they sin, what they bring about in the world, what they do to us. But we can know that concurrently in that, God is working an ultimate good for us. It's important we say ultimate. God is working an ultimate good for his people. Government simply means that there is an end goal to how God is governing the universe, that God is moving and directing all events in human history toward his appointed end, right? He has spoken. He will bring it to pass. He has purposed. He will do it. That's Isaiah 46, 9 through 11. And contextually, we want to divorce that, because what is the end goal in Romans chapter 8 that he's wanting us to know? We are going to take possession of this great inheritance. We are going to be glorified as Christ was glorified. The whole earth is going to be redeemed at the revealing of the sons of God. Total redemption of the cosmos. We will be glorified. He speaks of it as the past tense at the end of chapter 30 or verse 30. So in God's government, he is working, as we're looking at Romans 8, God's government, he's pulling everything. So everything is happening in your life, things you can't see possibly how they could be. They're working toward God's appointed end for your life and for all of humanity and for all of creation. That's God's government.
I like how the Heidelberg Catechism, the answer to question 1, it says, all things must work together for my salvation.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
That's that's a massive thought. All things.
Yeah.
I mean, even the decisions that world leaders are making right now.
The king's heart is like a stream of water in the hands of our God.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing is outside of his providential guidance to bring about his appointed ends.
Right.
And that is something we're to know and believe. And you should know and believe it. And like if you're young, you probably haven't experienced a lot of things we're talking about, pain and suffering, but you're going to, right? You're going to. So this is something that you need to know and believe before it happens.
Yeah.
Not just know it intellectually, like know the facts and like here's the definitions and here's how theologians talk about it, but you're to actually believe it.
Yeah. And it's such a shame that so many churches fight over the doctrine of God's sovereignty when it's meant for us to have like this unshakable hope.
Right. Yeah.
It's not meant for us to divide over. It's meant for us to see that even in the worst of times, that God is working good for us.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. The second truth is we're to believe God's providence in our lives even is good, even when you can't see it. So believe God's providence in your life is good, even when you can't see it.
Yeah, you can't see it. You usually can't. You usually can't see it.
Right.
We have this perspective. It's our perspective on the world and our life, and it's too small.
And I think it's also the worldliness of it, like that naive optimism that everything's going to work out. It's worldly. It's now. It's going to work out in my life right now, and that's just not what this verse or this passage promises.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. But I mean, we're sympathetic. I'm sympathetic with people. I mean, maybe you just lost your job and now the government's shut down. You're not going to get any assistance. Maybe Social Security, you're banking on Social Security coming in. It's not coming in. You can't see it. You can't see how these things are any good for you. Maybe, the doctor comes one day and tells you, your wife's cancer came back, again. And this time it's terminal. She's not going to survive it. Like, you can't see things like that. Like, you can't see, we just don't have the perspective. But what I wanted to get across in this is even when you can't see it, it's still true. And most of the time, we're not going to have answers as to why exactly these particular things happen. So I'm never going to be able to point to something particular in this specific instance to say, like, hey, I can see that. Sometimes after the fact, you can look back after many years, maybe, and you could see it. But sometimes you can't even see it then. And it's important to believe this great truth that God is working all things for our good, even when we can't see it. And, you know, the book of Ruth is one of the most incredible books in the whole Bible. It's a short book. You know, there are people who would say, like, God's not in this book. He's not mentioned. Like, where is he at? It's just a story about people. But the story really is about God. It's about God from a different angle. It's about his hiddenness. Like, God is hidden. And all of these events that are unfolding in this book, they seem to be completely random and unguided, but they're not. And that's the point.
And ordinary.
And ordinary.
Like, this is God in the ordinary.
Yeah.
We often think that God's providence is going to be something big, like Israel in the wilderness, but it really is just ordinary stuff happening.
And there's a lot of bad stuff. To get, I think, the impact of this story and how it relates to our life and having faith, even when you can't see things, you have to put yourself in the perspective of Naomi in the story. So a famine comes to the land of Israel. Her husband, Elimelech, you know, it's debated as to whether it was a good idea or not to go. But he wants his family to survive, right? So he flees to Moab, where it's still fruitful over there, and they can survive and have food, and famine hasn't hit there. Moves his family there, but then he dies, right? And then her 2 sons die. That's how the story begins. It's like right there in the first opening verses. So now she's a widow, and I think we underestimate the dire situation this places a woman in, to have no husband and all your sons be dead, and to have no redeemer anywhere around. Like, you're absolutely destitute. Like, you're the poorest of the poor. There's no way for you to survive. Historians will tell you that the only way a woman can survive is to become a beggar, to sit out and beg in the town square or in the city gates, or to become a prostitute and prostitute herself for survival. Dire. In the most unlikeliest turn of events ever, a Moabite woman, who it's repeated over and over, a Moabite. And you're going to tell us very soon why the Moabites are so scandalous, right? In Genesis?
Yeah, we'll get there.
You looking forward to that?
Yeah.
The Moabitess. There's a dramatic conversion where she takes Yahweh as her God. And it's incredibly moving. It's a work of God in this foreigner, this Moabite's life. And she comes back with Naomi. When Naomi returns, she's like, don't even call me my name anymore. Her name means something like sweet. She's like, call me bitter, because Yahweh has dealt bitterly with me. Like, she is telling the truth. She's not slandering God. The providence of God in her life has been dark. But then through this story, as it unfolds, all of these random things like, hey, where is Ruth going to go to glean so we don't starve to death? She just happens to go into the right guy's field, who happens to be the kinsman redeemer of her family. He just happens to be like
I like what
a good and righteous man.
Yeah, I hadn't noticed this before. I'm looking at the LSB. I like the way the LSB says it. It says, and it so happened that she happened to come to the portion of the field belonging to Boaz.
Right.
Like, it just happened that she happened.
It just happened.
Yeah.
It just randomly happened.
Yeah.
And a great story of a redeemer. And what we see is the story as it progresses. Ruth and Boaz, you know, they come together. They're married. They have a baby. And so Naomi, the one who has survived a famine, the death of her husband and her sons, the story ends with her holding this baby in her arms. Now what we have to know is that she's going to die without ever having the answers to what has happened in her life. She doesn't know who Obed is, who he's going to be, right? Obed is the father of Jesse, the father of David, That's how the book ends.
Mhm.
And so you're told, like, it's like, look at how God raised up a king from the most unlikeliest of circumstances, right? Through a famine and death and a Moabitess of all people. And now we have King David. God has raised up a king. He's been working in this story behind the scenes providentially the whole time. But go beyond that. David, now go many generations, is the father of Jesus, the Messiah, who the whole Old Testament is about. We're told now that God has provided a Messiah for the world through seemingly random events and terrible circumstances like famine and death. It's an incredible story. It's overlooked in its impact for how it can minister to your soul. Because what I'm arguing is you're going to be probably Naomi at some point in your life. There are going to be things that happen to you that we would call evil and suffering, and you're going to die, and you're never going to see how that worked while you were alive. Like, you won't be able to see it maybe, but does that mean it's not true? No, it means it's true even when we can't see it. And who's to say, like, even in our own lives, how future generations will be blessed because of what has happened to us in our life. But beyond that, there's an ultimate good that's being worked, that even if we can't see it, God is working out this ultimate good. And that's really what this chapter is about. It's about that ultimate good. And so we can trust when we correct the perspective. We often think good is financial prosperity, lack of suffering, lack of pain, lack of people sinning against us, causing us stress and anxiety. We think good would mean that God blesses us financially, physically, in our mental health, like you name it. And that's not the good. That's not the good of this passage that's being worked for us. The good is found in 29 and in through 30. And that is that we are predestined to be conformed into the image of Christ. God has an ultimate good he's working for us, right? And it's going to happen. He is doing it. We can't see all of these things. He has the plan. He knows what every person needs in their life to cause them to persevere to the end and acquire possession. He knows every trial and suffering you need to go through to knock all of the edges and attachments of this world off so that you would be conformed and made like Jesus. And that's the problem. Most people don't want that to be the ultimate. They don't see that as the ultimate, right? But that's God's ultimate good that he could ever do to a person. And it's eternal. The weight of that, the eternal weight of that ultimate good, to be made like Christ, to live forever in a glorified state, in a recreated universe, pleasure beyond imagine. You can't compare that to the present sufferings.
Yeah.
And we have that great comfort that even in the present sufferings, God's at work in them. They're not meaningless. We can never look at our life and say, this is meaningless. You might can say, I can't see how, but you can't say it is meaningless. It is working in ultimate good to make you like Christ and to get you to glorification. That's how it unfolds.
Yeah. I like how you ended, because there's still a little bit left in this verse.
Right. Yeah, I try to hold that to the end.
Yeah.
Because I wanted it to really to come home. And I thought, how can this come home? Well, if we look at those called according to his purpose, and we'll look more at that calling is effectual in nature, right? All that are called are justified. It does something to you. It's what produces the justification. There's a power at operation in that calling. But the Christian, any Christian that sits in the church or listens to this podcast, you are an illustration that this verse is true and has already happened to you. Because everything that has happened in your life of which you had no control over whatsoever has led you to the point of where the calling of God would become effectual in your life, where you would be born. I ran the stats on this one time, and I should have done it. Maybe I'll pull it out in the next sermon.
Yeah, we're not even talking about just your life. We're talking about generations.
I wanted to know, what are the odds of being born in 1981, being born a male into a Christian home and hearing the gospel? And so worldwide, as he calculated this, I put in exactly like who I am. The odds were like 0.01. It was insane. So just me being born into a Christian home and hearing the gospel over and over and over, eventually I converted at 25, but I had to hear the gospel a bazillion times and from other people, not my mother and father, before God saved me in an effectual call. But just think about your life. Anybody can think about it. Where you were born, the parents that you had, every circumstance that ever happened in your life, how many times you heard the gospel, the people that sinned against you, the sin that you committed, which caused you to feel the great burden of sin and guilt, like we feel that guilt, and then you're now primed for when God calls, this calling becomes effectual and makes you a Christian. That's already happened in your life. It's already happened. You can look back and see God has worked an ultimate good, right? The first step has taken place. You're a Christian now. And God was working all things for your good. And then so now you can look in the present and understand that, hey, even if I can't see it, the same truth is applying. It's happening now. And you can look to the future to see that God's will for your life will be done. He is going to continually be working all things for your good to bring you to glorification. So there's that kind of application I think that we should make. And then also for the non-Christians that we're hearing, the same truth applies. Like, we aren't living in a random universe. You didn't arrive in this church by chance, right? There's all of these connected events of which you had no control over whatsoever that put you in the pew for you to hear me call to you and say, trust Christ, believe in Christ. Christ died for sinners, and he'll receive you to himself. And this is a free gift of God. You don't have to work for it. Come as a sinner, and he'll transform your life. God's providence had brought people to hear that and trying to press that home upon them to respond.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good.
So that's it. Yeah. And next week, we'll just keep going.
Well, that's what we usually do, right? We just keep going.
Keep going in 29 and 30. And, beautiful verses that don't get near as much attention as they should, probably in the vast majority of the evangelical world.
Yeah.
We'll be looking at what's called the golden chain of redemption. So, yeah, looking forward. I never preached the golden chain, like, as we're moving through a text like this. So I'm looking forward to doing that and seeing how I can present this to people.
That'll be really good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it was a good sermon. I enjoyed listening to it this morning. First thing I did when I woke up was listen to Dr. J. Jones.
Cool.
Yeah, that was good. Well, I would encourage everyone to go back and listen to the sermon also.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome.
All right. Well, hopefully this has been a helpful conversation for you as we've been walking through a sometimes difficult topic of the problem of evil and suffering and how God is working all things for the good of his people. May that be an encouragement for you this week. And again, please go back, listen to Jay's sermon. It was very helpful, very beneficial, and very Christ glorifying. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share. Get the word out on the podcast, and we pray that you have a great week. God bless.